Hi, my name is Hannah Bower. I'm the Assistant Director with the Center for Equal Access, and today I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the Center for Equal Access. So, the Center for Equal Access seeks to eliminate barriers in both the learning and clinical/fieldwork environments for students with disabilities and or chronic medical conditions. And we do this through reasonable accommodations and resources. On the screen here, you can see a brief summary of things that would qualify as a disability or chronic medical condition. And I say brief because the ADA defines this very broadly. But majority of our students that work with our office tend to fall into one of these categories of learning disability, ADHD, chronic migraines, mental health diagnoses of anxiety or depression, physical disability, a visual disability, or even a temporary disability such as a physical injury or concussion. So if you fall under any of those categories and are thinking that you may want to register with the Center for Equal Access, there are some things to consider. You can register with CEA at any point. CEA is the term we use or acronym we use for the Center for Equal Access, and we'll refer to that throughout. But you can register with CEA at any point. You don't have to do it right away when you first start college, and you don't have to have used accommodations at previous institutions or in high school. We register students at any point up until their senior year or through their senior year. We do encourage you to register as soon as you are accepted and have registered for courses to create a safety net when it comes to your accommodations, even if you don't feel like you need to use them at that point. Having them set up and available to you means that they're ready to be used if you decide you need to use them. But like I said, you can register at any point. Every semester, you do have to renew your accommodations through our semester request process in order for those to be sent to your faculty and available for you to use that semester. You may also request additional accommodations through supplemental requests at any point once you are registered with our office. Accommodations aren't a one and done thing, and sometimes it takes using some accommodations to recognize areas that you need other accommodations in. You may choose not to use your accommodations or only use them in certain classes. It is your choice. Some students with chronic medical conditions get set up for accommodations in the situation of if a flare were to happen, but don't actually end up using their accommodations very often. But they're there and ready to be used if they decide they need to use them. Some classes may be more difficult than others, where you may find yourself choosing to use your accommodations in those classes versus other classes that seem to be going better for you. We do not share any medical information without written consent. Your faculty don't know what your disability or diagnosis is. They just know that you're registered with our office and what accommodations you're approved for. All of that is 100% confidential in our office regarding your disability or diagnosis. And it's 100% your choice whether or not you want to disclose and have that conversation with your faculty. And then lastly, nothing is tied to your academic transcript when you leave. There's no special abstract or special colored transcript that states you used accommodations. It'll, through your time here, it really does not show up. The only people that know are our office and yourself. So, steps to obtaining academic accommodations. First, we'll have you complete our new student accommodation request form. This form is available on our MyCSS page, as well as our main website page at css.edu/access. This is 100% confidential, and the only people that have access to it are our professional staff in the office, where we'll review it, and then we'll send you an email to schedule a time to meet with one of our access specialists. This email will go to your CSS email, so you want to be checking that email address. And then once you meet with us, accommodations are determined and approved and submitted and once you submit your semester request, your faculty are notified and you're able to start utilizing those accommodations. In that meeting, or what that meeting will look like is we'll go through what you shared on the form, ask some follow-up questions, really trying to gather information on where and what accommodations are needed or would be helpful for you, and what barriers you experience when it comes to academics. Following our meeting, we will send you a meeting recap email that will just kind of recap everything we talked about and those steps and processes for your accommodations, because every accommodation has a slightly different step or process that you need to use in order to utilize it. All right, so at the very beginning, I'd mentioned clinical fieldwork accommodations. So we refer to those as clinical accommodations, but this really fits any external experiential learning related to or tied to your courses or program. The process for these starts similar. You submit your new student accommodation request form if this is the first time you're exploring accommodations is just for clinicals, which is totally fine. Or if you already have academic accommodations and are in need of clinical accommodations, you would then submit that supplemental request form. Once that form's submitted, you would once again get an email requesting to meet with one of our access specialists in order to discuss those clinical barriers and need for accommodations. The difference in this process comes when the approval piece happens. So in that meeting, we don't approve any accommodations. We propose some accommodations, and then those accommodations are proposed to the clinical team for your program, which is typically made up of a fieldwork coordinator as well as the chair or director of the program. From there, a conversation is had to ensure that the accommodation does not fundamentally alter the outcomes of the clinical internship, whatever it may be. And then you'll be notified of the decision by email with the next steps included. If it's approved, you'll need to submit that semester request so that we can create a notice of accommodation that can then be shared with your site. If it's not approved for whatever reason, we'll have next steps or some alternative options provided. All right, so like I said, that was a brief overview of the Center for Equal Access. You may have questions. If you do not hesitate to reach out to us. The easiest way is to email our access@css.edu email, and one of our staff will get back to you. The other option is to give us a phone call at 218-625-4859. Oh, sorry, 625-4891. Or for more information, you can visit our css.edu/access website, which is our main website, which I'll show you right now. All right, so this is our main website, which, like I said, you can get to by doing css.edu/access, or you can find it under the academics centers and institutes option. So this gives an overview of the accommodations, gives a little bit more contact information for our office, as well as just some more general information when it comes to accommodations and different types of accommodations we offer. And then over here on the side is where you can find that new student accommodations request form. But you can also find our login for those students that already have requested accommodations and are trying to access their account to submit a supplemental. That is all that I have for you. Like I said, if you have questions, please reach out to us at access.css.edu.